Hello, welcome to the Chirp YouTube channel. My name is Christy. I am your friendly online speech language pathologist and specialist in children's communication development. Today we are going to talk about gifts for neurodivergent people. Perhaps these aren't necessarily gifts that you are giving. Perhaps these are items that you wish to have in your classroom as resources for kids who might be developing a little bit differently. The first gift or item I'm going to talk about is a marble run. You can see an example of one of these on the screen right this minute. Just so that you know, these require some help from an adult to assemble. And to this day, my most popular videos are the ones where I talk about how to build a marble run. I have a suspicion those are watched by a lot of kids and maybe some adults who are playing with marble runs with their kids, but they're not one of my most educational or life-changing videos, in my opinion. But who am I to say what changes someone's life? Anyway, you can watch those videos if you do decide to buy a marble run and you are looking for a way to assemble it. By the way, I will have links to all of these items, or as close as I can find to my actual version, in the info box down below. And this is where I'm going to mention my series on sensory modalities, because in my opinion, the sensory modalities, the sensory needs that our kids have are the first place we should look in order to buy them gifts that are going to be useful and enjoyable for them. So, for example, if my child has a visual sensory need where she needs and craves more information coming into her visual pathway through her eyeballs, then a marble run is going to probably be a great gift for her, because it is so enjoyable to watch all the marbles tumble down, and it's going to be enjoyable and it's going to be helpful to her sensory system. If my child has a need for proprioception, enjoys deep squeezing, enjoys jumping and falling to the ground and these kind of things, you can find that video right there, then perhaps a weighted vest, such as this, or a body sock, such as this, might be a great gift. I did that whole series not that long ago, and it's still a very helpful series for understanding the different sensory systems of some of our kids. Watching those videos will give you some great ideas about different gifts that you could choose to buy during this holiday season, or indeed to stock your classroom at some point. Another thing that helps kids who crave more visual stimulation, and you can find out more about that in that video, might be some gears. My favorite gears are these right here. I usually buy the little set of gears and then I buy a magnetic board so that we can put the gears on the board and watch them go around. If you are a family, if you have children in your home, then you could do this on a fridge or a cookie pan, as long as it's magnetic. Any other thing in your house that's magnetic, you could do this on a door perhaps, but it is really nice to have it on a little board so that it can be portable. A fridge is not very portable. And I don't know any family that needs the kids underfoot in the kitchen even more than they already would have been. An option that works really well in my classroom that also would probably work well at home, this also benefits the visual sensory system, is these dinosaur spinners. They provide a lot of stimulation to the eyeballs. They're very engaging, and they're great for if you have any sort of music and movement time, or perhaps you have a dance party on Friday nights at home. Whatever your fun event might be, these dinosaur spinners will add to the fun, especially if you turn out all the other lights and all the lights you have are the dinosaur spinners. They're super fun. Similarly, this light that is like a disco ball, except for it moves itself. It is motorized, and so you plug it in and turn it on and it spins, and then it has lights that direct at it, so it goes in its own direction, somewhat like this. These are super fun for having in a classroom or in a child's room, perhaps. Maybe you, once again, in your home dance party, perhaps you use one of these to enhance the fun and help your child's visual needs to get met. I love things like sensory sand. I'm not sure exactly what it's called. In many cases, it's called sensory sand or magic sand or something along those lines. Kinetic sand in some cases. There are lots of different brands now, but it's fantastic. Of course, you need to keep it in a container because it gets messy sometimes if kids throw it around. There have to be rules around this magic sand. It tends to be much less messy than typical sand because it is a little bit sticky and it mushes together. This is really great for kids who have perhaps some tactile needs, which you can find out more about right there. Another thing that's great for kids with tactile needs, either kids who need to work on their ability to tolerate different textures, if kids are avoidant of certain textures, I have a video on that too, of course, right there, then slowly easing into touching different textures can be really helpful. And these fun products can help kids want to participate in tactile activities. Kinetic sand is one of those that has helped a lot of my students in the past move past some of their reservations when it comes to touching certain textures. Another option that I love, that I have just started using in my program, is Whoa-Do. I think the name is cute. I think these little containers are perfect. It's the perfect amount. Each one has a lid. They're very simple. This is a 12-pack of all these beautiful colors. My favorite part is that these are gluten-free. Regular Play-Doh is made from wheat. I happen to have celiac disease, and a lot of children who have autism or other developmental disorders try to stay away from or are sensitive to gluten. So why would we give them Play-Doh if that is something that might exacerbate some of their symptoms, especially if they're going to eat it? This stuff, while you should not eat it, does not have wheat, does not have dairy, does not have eggs, is non-toxic, soy-free, and peanut-free. So I think it's a much better option. Also, it has, I think, a nicer texture than Play-Doh, and it smells much less. I happen to like the smell of Play-Doh, but not everyone does. What I have been doing with these in our story time, right now I'm working in a program to support our kids who have higher needs. It is an inclusion program, which is often not my favorite because some of our kids have such significant needs that it's really hard for them to manage themselves in this environment. But this is what I have at the moment. And so one of the ways that I'm helping our kids tune in a little better is by adding more motor components to the lesson time. The lesson time is the hardest because they are supposed to be paying attention, and it is one of our goals that our kids who have some developmental needs would not be super distracting to all of the other kids during that time, because we are there to learn as well as to have fun. This Whoa-Do has been very helpful because the kids can just play with it during that time if that is the level that suits them. But I have some kids who their needs are in the area of movement. They need more movement. They need more attention, and they need to wiggle a lot more than other kids. And in that case, it can be very helpful to have something to play with. Typical fidgets are usually not that helpful because they get whipped, those wormy things, they just get whipped around, they're hitting other kids. Some of those fidgets make noise. Dough is helpful because it fulfills the need to squish or stretch or roll or pancake, It does a lot of different things, and you can make stuff out of it. So we were talking about fish in our last lesson. I had my kids shape their Wodo into a fish while the lesson was going on. And that was really helpful for them because not only were they doing something with their hands at the same time, thinking about fish, but also learning about fish at the same time. It all kind of layers on each other to make a more holistic learning experience. Get some Wodo. It's not very expensive. It's fantastic. You might consider some olfactory gifts, such as perhaps a passive essential oil diffuser. Of course, please be careful, follow medical guidelines, but I like to put a little ceramic flower or tree in any particular room. In fact, there's one over there on this console, just out of camera. And I like peppermint and I like lavender. So I put peppermint drops on there and a little bit of lavender. And that mix feels like home to me. Especially in the festive season, you might choose some pine smell or maybe peppermint. And that can be really alerting and also calming for kids. So it's a good idea to keep in mind, what does the child maybe benefit from in a smell sense? Of course, if you have a little more room in your home or your classroom, I recommend a small trampoline. Okay, they can be a little bit dangerous if kids are not supervised. We need to put them away if they're not within adult purview at that particular moment. But I love having trampolines in my classroom, and I definitely would if I had a child who was on the autism spectrum or who had ADHD, because it's a great way to get movement, exercise, especially kids who need to move more. This is a great way to move without needing to be outside if it's too cold or too hot. Also, they're getting vestibular input. Vestibular input you can find more about in that video. They're moving through space as they're jumping. So that is working on the sense of where they are in space, and it's helping their body to become more used to all those sensations and to fulfill a craving that they might have to move through space in that way. It also meets needs for proprioceptive input. We've talked about proprioception at the beginning of the video, which is usually met by deep squeezes or by those body socks that I already mentioned. Proprioception is the sense that you get to your body where pressure is applied to you. And of course, when you are jumping on a trampoline, you're getting lots of pressure through your feet into the rest of your body, and it's very soothing for most kids. In fact, for almost everybody. So if you don't have any bladder control issues or other problems with jumping on the trampoline, it could be good for you too. I myself like a treadmill. They're not super safe for children, so I'm not going to recommend them. But if you are an adult with any sort of sensory needs, or if you are feeling anxious or depressed, if you need a way to work out your feelings and you live in a cold or hot environment, I really love my treadmill. I got it as a hand-me-down. It's a second-hand one. It's not the best in the world, but to me, it's the best in the world because I use it all the time, and it really helps me manage my moods, and it helps me be more patient, and it helps me stay fit. So that is a win. And so will a trampoline be a win for your child. Other things I recommend are related to play and interaction. Of course, inform yourself. You could use some of your gift money to buy some materials that will educate you on how to support your child. My favorite books are this one about visual strategies to help kids communicate better, and this one, which is about how to play with a young child, in ways that are engaging and in ways that help that child to build a safe and healthy reciprocal relationship with you as an adult, and therefore down the line with other adults as well. Once you are informed, then we need to have toys and equipment that are going to foster those type of back and forth relationships. But of course, we need to keep in mind that kids play at different levels. I have lots of videos on play. You can find a playlist right there or in the information box down below. First of all, we need to have the sensory equipment because that is going to draw a player, a young person playing in a sensory way. That is the first stage. Then as a child bridges her way into a little bit more advanced play, then we're going to want to be having things like blocks and a marble run and crayons and other art things so we can draw and do other simple one way to play type activities. And then as our child advances a bit more, we need to find open-ended play activities. When I talk about one way to play activities, I'm talking about cause and effect toys where you push a button and something pops up, or you push a button and the car goes. I don't love toys with buttons. I tend to prefer toys that are old-fashioned. They're made of wood, or they don't make any noise. We make the noise. They don't do stuff on their own. We do the stuff. But sometimes a cause and effect toy can be something along those lines. This is an example of an old-fashioned type of toy where the child does the work, but something fun happens in the meantime. It's a cause and effect toy. And it also has, of course, some sensory benefits, as you can imagine. Once we're done with the closed-ended stage, or once we want to start working towards the open-ended play style, open-ended play is when kids use different materials in a variety of different ways. So this pencil could be used in a closed-ended play scenario. We only use it for writing. However, for a child who's now playing in an open-ended way, this pencil could be a mustache. It could be a wand. It could be an oar. I guess this would be, yes, this is an oar. Or a paddle, I guess. Am I right? Is an oar just one and a paddle has one on each end? I'm not positive. I need to refresh my memory. But this pencil could be many, many things. And that is the kind of toy product you would want to look for when you're working on helping your child to learn more advanced play skills. A lot of times our children who are on the spectrum don't love open-ended play because they are too overwhelmed with all the possibilities. They like closed-ended play, like building a train track and driving the train around it a million times, because that is comfortable and repetitive and soothing. They don't like what feels like chaos to them with open-ended play. But open-ended play is a very important skill to practice and to learn and to use all the time, because that's what life is. Life is open-ended play. We have to respond to unexpected comments from our friends or our coworkers. We have to deal with a tire that went flat. We have to be able to deal with the unexpected. And we have to be able to use tools and knowledge in creative and flexible ways. That is ultimately what play is. Flexible, creative, internally directed. So these open-ended toys are very important to introduce into a child's life and to help her learn how to play that way. As you're working on that, stay tuned on this channel. This might be a good time to subscribe because, of course, we will continue talking about play. And in the new year, when there are lots of new toys in a child's life, we might need to talk about how to work with them to teach particular skills. Maybe. What do you think about that? My favorite thing to recommend in this area is a toy house with toy people, because you get to practice all of the parts about being human. It's important to practice mom picking up the baby and feeding the baby. It's important to practice dad picking up the baby and feeding the baby. whoever is in your play scenario, whoever is in your life, play act those roles and talk about them using simple short sentences, and model the things in your game, in your play, after things that really happen. And then be flexible and do some things that don't normally happen. Like, oh, this mom is going to work today. Dad's staying home. This mom's going to work. Or maybe someone gets a bad owie and they have to go to the doctor. We have to work on being flexible. It's a hard skill for all of us. It's especially hard for some kids who tend to be very rigid. But flexible, creative, open-ended play is one of the ways we can work on all of those things and build a super intense, valuable relationship of trust and respect between you and the child. That is great. More open-ended things are maybe kitchen gadgets, food, and things like that. My youngest niece is 10 and she still wants to play restaurant all the time and have us order food, and then she brings us food, and it's not that exciting for me, but it is a good foray into open-ended play. It's not actually all that open-ended because we place the order, she gets the food and brings it to us, but we as the customers can make it more open-ended by spilling on the floor, and then she has to figure out what to do, by telling her we have allergies, which we do all the time, and then she has to come up with a solution, by writing menus and then maybe drawing pictures of some of the food, by taking pictures of the food and printing them out and making picture menus. We can really do a lot with a very small kernel of a play idea. I also love space-related things, like a space station kit. I have a super old one that isn't available, but I will put something as similar as I can find down below. It has a rocket. It has some little space-faring vehicles. It has some aliens and some human astronauts. It's just adorable. It doesn't make any noises. You just get in your rocket, you fly to another planet, you explore, we take pictures, we take rock samples, which are crumpled up paper, and we put them in our rocket, and we fly home, and we do science on all of it and figure out what it's made of. And once again, we can do all sorts of open-ended creative things based on this play set. So that is fantastic. I'm sure you can see the difference between a closed-ended play thing, like a rock polishing kit, which is awesome, and I bought one for my nieces. It's very sciencey, very cool, but you can see the difference between that and an open-ended play set, like little people, even calico critters, or little Fisher-Price people, especially the vintage ones. I have almost all of the vintage Fisher-Price stuff from the 70s and the early 80s. Most of it's from the 60s and 70s. The castle is another great thing, but I don't know if they make those anymore. A house. I have a Sesame Street with all the cute little characters. Anyway, I have a lot of fantastic toys in these cabinets. I wish we could play together, or that I could play with your child, but these are my thoughts from afar on what might benefit your child the most as far as gifts, or your classroom the most if you are looking to stock up for the new year. Let me know if you have questions. If you have a specific child that you would like some advice on about what kind of gifts you could buy, feel free to email me. My website is at the top of all of the things in the info box down below. So don't hesitate to go there, find my email, and email me. Also, if you've made it to the end of this video, I have a little gift for you, should you wish it. If you did not know, I wrote a curriculum. I'm the developer and author of a curriculum that is used by churches to teach kids spiritual stuff. And I have a special Christmas lesson that I am willing to gift you for this Christmas should you wish to use it in your home or in your church program. So once again, just email me and mention the free gift that I am offering, and I will hook you up. I hope you have a great day, and I will see you soon back here with a new video. Thanks for being here. Bye.